My ex used me to raise her son. Well, her boyfriend partied, so I exposed her lies in court and took back every right she stole. I'm a 28-year-old guy, and I raised a kid who isn't mine. I didn't plan to. I didn't sign up for it. But somehow, it happened. Slowly. Like boiling in water you don't realize is hot until it burns you. It started when Alana showed up at my doorstep after 3 years of silence. We'd dated in college, messy and intense, but broke up for good when we realized we were toxic together. Or so I thought. She looked different. Thinner, more fragile, with swollen ankles and a belly that made me blink twice. 7 months, she said before I even asked. Her eyes were puffy like she hadn't slept in weeks. "I've got nowhere else to go," she whispered. Jake left. My parents cut me off. Just a few nights. Until I figure things out, I knew better. But my guilt won. I told her she could crash on the couch. I even cleared out the closet in the guest room. Told myself it was temporary. Just until she got on her feet. 2 months later, she gave birth to Caleb. I drove her to the hospital. I held her hand through contractions. I waited outside the delivery room when she screamed for privacy. I bought diapers. Formula. I put together the crib from IKEA even though the instructions made me feel like a total idiot. At first, I'd watch Caleb for an hour or two so she could shower or sleep. Then it became a full afternoon while she ran errands. Then entire evenings while she cleared her head. Soon, I was changing him, feeding him, rocking him to sleep, more often than she was. I wasn't the dad, but everyone started calling me one. And deep down, I think I started answering to it. Even though something didn't feel quite right. I couldn't name it yet, but I would. Eventually, I don't remember when her overnight bag turned into drawers, when the drawers turned into closets, when my apartment stopped feeling like mine. It happened so quietly. 1 baby bottle, 1 laundry load, 1 "can you hold him while I nap" at a time. At first, I told myself I was helping, that I was being a good man. I had a decent job in IT, a small but clean apartment, and no real attachments. Why not offer support to someone I once cared about? But over time, the lines blurred. Alana stopped looking for jobs. She'd sleep in till noon and emerge like a hurricane of excuses. The baby's up all night. I feel sick. I was applying online, didn't you hear me typing? But I never saw resumes. Never saw interview close. Just her scrolling Instagram, her phone lighting up with messages from names I didn't recognize. Names she quickly flipped over or ignored when I got close. Meanwhile, I was waking up at 6 a.m. to make Caleb's bottle, packing a diaper bag before logging into work, bouncing him on my knee during Zoom meetings. My manager noticed. "You good, man?" he asked once. "You've been off lately." I smiled, said I was adjusting to helping out a friend. Helping. That's all I was supposed to do. Then the pediatrician's office called me to confirm Caleb's 6-month shots. They had my name listed as primary contact. I didn't even remember giving them my number. But Alana brushed it off. "Oh, they just asked who usually brings him. It's not a big deal." It was subtle, but the shift was happening. My life wasn't just being shared. It was being occupied. Quietly replaced, my friends stopped texting. My social life shrank to baby giggles and dirty bottles. I hadn't been on a date in over a year, and every time I tried to pull back, Alana would flash that tired smile. "You're so good with him. I don't know what I'd do without you." And that line, it kept me there, even when I felt myself disappearing. It was around Caleb's first birthday when I started noticing the lies. One night, I walked past Alana's room and heard laughter. Soft, flirty, the kind that didn't sound like someone exhausted by motherhood. I paused outside the door. Then I heard a man's voice on speakerphone. "Can't wait to see you this weekend, babe," he said. I froze. My chest tightened. I waited, half expecting her to say, "You've got the wrong person." But instead, she giggled. "Jake, stop. You'll wake him." Jake. The name hit me like a punch. That was the same guy she said had abandoned her. The same man who supposedly left her to raise Caleb alone. I stepped into the doorway. "You said Jake was gone," I said quietly. Her eyes widened for a split second before she rolled them. "It's not what you think. We're just talking again. Talking," I repeated. "You said he walked out on you." "He did. But he's trying now. You wouldn't understand." I stood there looking at the woman who had turned my home into a daycare and my life into a lie. Caleb started crying in the next room and she shoved past me. "See what you did? You stressed him out." That night I barely slept. I lay there replaying everything. The late nights she claimed she was at the store, the mysterious girls' weekends, the time she came home smelling like men's cologne. It all lined up now. I wasn't the hero helping a struggling single mom. I was the fool raising another man's child while they lived their double life. The next morning, I confronted her again. "So, Jake's back in the picture?" She smirked, didn't even deny it. "You wanted to help. Don't start acting like I forced you." Her words burned. She said them so casually, as if my kindness had been a contract she was cashing in. And that's when it hit me. She wasn't staying because she needed me. She was staying because I made her life easy. After that conversation, something inside me cracked, but not all the way. Not yet. I wasn't ready to admit how deep I was in. Alana played it off like I was overreacting. "I'm not asking you for anything," she said. "If you want me gone, just say it." But the way she said it wasn't a real offer. It was a challenge, a dare. She knew I wouldn't kick her out. Not with Caleb clinging to me every morning. Not with the way he reached for me when he was scared or tired or just needed comfort. And the truth, I loved that kid. I didn't know how or when it happened, but it had. So I stayed. Again. She said she wanted to start job hunting, to get on her feet. I offered to help with her resume, even printed a few out for her. She took them with a fake smile, then left to drop them off. But when I checked her location later, yeah, I was that desperate. I saw she was across town at a wine bar with Jake. She came back tipsy, kissed Caleb goodnight, and collapsed in bed like nothing happened. That's when I started noticing paperwork piling up on the kitchen counter. School forms, medical records, daycare invoices, all with my name. I wasn't just helping out anymore. On paper, I was the dad. I asked her about it, trying to stay calm. "Why is my name on this emergency contact form?" She waved it off. "They ask for someone reliable." "You're here, aren't you?" "But I'm not his father." "Yeah, well, you might as well be." I stared at her, realizing she truly believed that meant something, that my presence meant consent. Didn't matter how loud the alarms were getting in my head. She'd already decided what role I played, and I was starting to realize she didn't. Plan on giving that role back, I put everything I had into Caleb's second birthday, I don't know why. Maybe I needed to prove to myself that I mattered to someone. Maybe I just wanted one good day where it felt like the sacrifices meant something. I spent 2 weeks planning, booked the park pavilion, bought streamers, balloons, Paw Patrol decorations, his favorite. I even baked the cake myself, stayed up past midnight making sure the frosting didn't melt. I invited Alana's friends, some neighbors, even a couple of coworkers who had kids. She barely lifted a finger, showed up late, dressed like she was going to a club, not a toddler's birthday. But I let it go. Caleb was smiling. That was all that mattered. Until Jake showed up, I didn't invite him. I hadn't even seen him in weeks. But there he was, sunglasses on, gold chain swinging, carrying a gift bag like he'd earned the right. He walked straight over to Caleb, picked him up without asking, and said, "Hey, little man, Daddy's here." The world slowed down. Caleb looked confused. He looked at me, then back at Jake, and then Alana laughed. "Oh, come on," she said. "Don't be so uptight. It's just a party." Jake smirked at me like he'd won something. "Relax, man. We appreciate the free child care." Free child care? I didn't say anything. Not because I couldn't, but because I couldn't trust myself to speak without breaking. I went to the other end of the park and sat on the bench, staring at the cake I made, untouched, frosting melting in the sun. No one asked where I went, not even Alana. And in that moment, I realized I wasn't part of the celebration. I was just the help, disposable, replaceable, unnecessary, and still. I cleaned up after everyone left, because Caleb fell asleep in my arms and I couldn't bear to wake him. A few weeks after the party, my buddy Marcus, who works in family law, came over for beers. He hadn't seen me in months and said I looked run down, like a tired husband without the ring. I laughed it off, but he didn't. He leaned in and said, "Man, I'm going to ask you something serious. Are you legally tied to that kid?" I shrugged. "No, why would I be? I'm not his father." "You sure?" he asked. "You ever sign anything? Hospital stuff? Daycare forms? Anything with your name and Caleb's together?" That hit something in me. Later that night, after everyone was asleep, I pulled out the file drawer where we kept Caleb's documents. I wasn't even sure what I was looking for, until I found the birth certificate. My hands went cold. Under father's name, there it was. Mine. Clear as day. First name, last name, even my middle initial. I sat down, legs shaking, rereading it over and over like my eyes were playing tricks. But they weren't. I burst into Alana's room and held it up. "What the hell is this?" She didn't flinch. "You left your wallet on the counter the day I was discharged. They asked for the father's name. I gave them yours. You forged this? You used my ID?" She rolled her eyes. "I didn't forge anything. You were there. You drove me to the hospital. You took care of him. Don't act like you weren't playing the role." "That's not the same thing. That's legal fraud. You said you loved him. What's the difference?" I couldn't breathe. I was choking on a panic I hadn't felt since my dad left when I was a kid. Like the ground beneath me wasn't real anymore. It wasn't just emotional manipulation now. This was legal. Permanent. She hadn't trapped me emotionally. She'd trapped me on paper, and I didn't even know what that meant for me yet. But I knew it was bad. Really bad. I barely slept that night. I just lay on the couch, staring at the ceiling while Caleb's soft snores echoed from the baby monitor. My thoughts were racing, heart pounding like a drum I couldn't shut off. The next morning, I called Marcus. "You were right," I told him. "My name's on the birth certificate." He went silent for a second, then asked, "Did you sign anything at the hospital?" "No, she used my ID. I didn't even go in the delivery room." "Then you've got a case. But it's gonna get messy." He wasn't lying. I spent the next week calling lawyers. One wanted a $5,000 retainer just to get started. Another said it would take months, maybe years, to reverse parental responsibility once it was on record, especially if I'd been acting as a father. "But I'm not the biological dad," I repeated. "I was trying to help someone." "Courts care about consistency," one attorney said. "If you've been living with the child, supporting them, acting as a parent, even if it was informal, judges can rule in favor of maintaining that structure. Especially if the mother pushes for child support. Child support. That's when it hit me. Not only was I trapped emotionally and legally, now I was financially chained to a lie I didn't sign up for. And Alana. She sensed the shift. She got smug, lounged around more, said things like, "You're basically family now." When I mentioned moving out, she narrowed her eyes. "You think a court's just going to let you walk away after raising him this long?" She knew exactly what she was doing, and I realized I wasn't up against a confused, struggling mom. I was up against someone who'd planned this, who had slowly, deliberately made me the fallback, the legal dad, the financial cushion. And now I couldn't even afford to fight back. I hit my lowest point 2 weeks later. I was sitting at the kitchen table, staring at the overdue electricity bill while Caleb cried in the background. Alana was out, again, said she was at a networking mixer, but she left in a bodycon dress and full lashes. That night, I snapped, not at Caleb, never him, but at the situation. I was broke. I was tired. And I was legally bound to a child who had a living, breathing father somewhere out there, untouched and carefree. I paced the apartment like a caged animal, rage simmering under my skin. Then I saw Alana's laptop open on the coffee table. Caleb had been watching cartoons on it, and the screen hadn't locked. I don't know what possessed me. Maybe desperation. Maybe self-preservation. But I clicked open the desktop folder labeled Work Docs. Inside, nothing looked work-related, just random screenshots, saved memes, and a folder titled LOL Chatbacks. It was a group chat. Her and two of her friends. At first, it was harmless gossip. But then I scrolled down. Girl, I got him wrapped. Man's been raising a kid that ain't his and paying for everything. He thinks you need him. LMAO, just keep pretending you're tired. These dudes eat that shut up. And then I put his name on the birth cert. He doesn't even know. You're savage AF. I stared at the screen like it had punched me. All this time, I thought I was doing the right thing. I thought I was stepping up for someone in crisis. But I was the punchline. A walking, breathing joke passed around in group chats. I emailed every screenshot to myself. Then I backed them up twice. Because now I wasn't just angry. I was done. And if she thought I'd roll over, she was about to learn just how wrong she was. I didn't tell her I was filing. I wanted the look on her face to be real. Not rehearsed. Not spun into one of her manipulative narratives. I sat with a lawyer who specialized in paternity fraud. When I showed him the screenshots, his eyebrows rose halfway up his forehead. This isn't just deception, he said. This is malicious intent. We filed for a motion to rescind parental responsibility based on fraud and misrepresentation. I was shaking as I signed the papers. It felt like I was cutting something loose from my soul, something heavy I'd been dragging for too long. When Alana was served, she acted confused, hurt. She even cried in front of Caleb, which made me feel like the worst human alive. But I didn't back down. The court date came. I wore the one decent suit I owned. Alana showed up in a blouse that screamed, innocent, mother, holding Caleb like a shield. The judge asked her why she listed me as the father. She gave some speech about emotional support and how he's been like a dad since day one. My lawyer slid the screenshots across the table. Group chat, hospital forms, even a receipt from the day she used my ID at discharge. Alana's mouth hung open. The courtroom went quiet. The judge flipped through the papers slowly, like the silence itself was a gavel. Then he said, "If these messages are authentic, and they appear to be, you've built a house of cards, Ms. Morales, and it's collapsing." I looked at her, and for the first time, she didn't look smug. She looked small. The judge scheduled a paternity test. Caleb's real father would be located and summoned. My name would be frozen from all legal documents pending. Outcome, I walked out of that. Courthouse lighter than I'd felt in years, but it wasn't over. Yet, not by a long shot. Jake thought he was untouchable. That smug, chain-wearing ghost of a man who dipped in and out of Caleb's life whenever he pleased, usually when there was cake or alcohol involved. But courts don't care about your vibe. They care about DNA. When the test came back, the results were obvious. Jake was Caleb's biological father. The judge didn't even blink. Within a week, Jake was served with a court summons for paternity, custody, and child support. That's when the real show began. Jake blew up Alana's phone. He showed up at the apartment one night, banging on the door, screaming, "You said he was gone. You said we were in the clear." I stayed behind the door, listening. Not moving, Alana was crying. Real tears this time, angry, panicked ones. I had to put someone down. What did you expect me to do when you disappeared? Oh, so now I'm the deadbeat? Jake snapped. You played us both, Alana. You used him, and now you're throwing me to the wolves. I wanted to open the door, not to yell, just to look him in the eye. The man who got to walk away while I carried the weight. But I didn't, because it didn't matter anymore. The system had finally caught up to both of them. Jake was slapped with backdated child support payments and mandatory parenting classes. He tried to argue for partial custody just to reduce payments, but the judge saw right through him. Alana, on the other hand, was warned. One more documented instance of fraud and she'd face criminal charges. She tried to spin a redemption arc in court, crying about being a single mom just trying to survive. No one clapped. No one believed her. I didn't even look at her. Because for the first time in years, I wasn't the one being judged, she was. And for once, it felt like justice wasn't just a word, it was happening. 3 months after that final court appearance, I got the official letter, petition granted, legal parental rights removed. I stared at the paper for a long time, not knowing whether to cry or scream or just sit there in silence. It felt like peeling off a mask I didn't even realize I'd been wearing. One, that had slowly grown tighter and tighter around my face until I forgot what breathing normally felt like. But then came the part I hadn't prepared. 4, saying goodbye. The court gave me the option. I could maintain contact with Caleb voluntarily, since there was no custody tie anymore. The idea of not seeing him again, it broke something in me. That kid called me Dada before he could say his own name right. I taught him to walk, to high-five, to fall asleep with a stuffed fox clutched to his chest. I didn't want him to think I left because I stopped caring. So, I visited one last time. Alana acted like nothing had changed, offered me coffee, tried to talk about shows she was watching. I didn't respond. I just asked for a few minutes alone with Caleb. He ran to me like always. Wrapped his little arms around my neck, babbling about toy trucks and dinosaurs. He didn't understand what was happening. He didn't need to. I held him close, heart in my throat. "You're gonna be okay," I whispered. "You're strong. You're smart. You're so loved." He pulled back, confused by the tears on my face. "I have to go now," I said softly. "Where?" I swallowed hard. "Somewhere I should have gone a long time ago." He waved as I walked out. And when that door closed behind me, I leaned against it and cried like a man who'd been holding it in for years. I was free. But freedom doesn't always come without grief. Sometimes it means letting go of the only good thing that came out of a lie. I moved out of that apartment 2 weeks later, packed what little was actually mine, my desk, my clothes, a box of Caleb's drawings I couldn't throw away, and drove 3 hours north to a town where nobody knew my name. The silence was jarring at first. No crying through baby monitors. No cereal spills on the floor. No soft footsteps padding toward my bed at 5 a.m., asking for cartoons. Just space and time. And questions. Who am I when I'm not needed? What does my life look like when no one is pulling me in all directions? For a while, I was just a ghost with a heartbeat, eating frozen meals, staring at my phone, wondering if I'd made a mistake, wondering if Caleb missed me. But healing doesn't always arrive with trumpets and sunshine. Sometimes it comes quietly. One night of good sleep, one breath that doesn't catch in your chest. I started therapy, joined a local hiking group, reconnected with friends I'd ghosted for 2 years. I told Marcus thank you, and he told me, "Told you were in deep. Glad you got out." I still think about Caleb. I probably always will. Sometimes I see a toy fox in a store aisle and feel like I've been punched in the gut. Other times I smile, because I know he's strong. Kids feel the truth even when adults bury it. One night I got a message from a guy on Reddit. He said, "I read your post about paternity fraud. I think I'm going through the same thing." So I shared everything I could. Every form, every step, every emotion. Because if I can stop someone else from falling into that same trap, maybe that part of my story still matters. I didn't walk away from fatherhood. I walked away from being used, and now, for the first time in years, I'm building a life that's mine. One honest piece at a time.